Oh, hello there, Howard. It's nice to see you here today at Manx Radio. I started to write this quite a long way back now, probably 2012 when I did my autobiography book. For those of you who remember that, it was, do you know Derry Kissack? No, but I know a fellow who does. And when that was a success, I decided to write this book about the helmets, who, in all honesty, was a team put together just for one night's entertainment to back up the great Steve Colley, who was doing a fundraiser for us at the time. And, well, people laughed so much, I thought there might be a bit of mileage in it. And, well, we had the venue up at the back of the testing station at Tremode, and it was a hopeless venue, really, but it was tarmac. And that's what we'd been trying to find so we could do our skids and things. And anyway, the following year we managed to hire Onken Stadium, and the rest is history, really. 27 years later, from a one-night show, the world-famous purple helmets really are quite world-famous. Albeit at the start we said, well, we'll call ourselves world-famous because nobody had ever heard of us, which is the way we operate, actually, Howard.
And by the end, of course, everyone had heard of you, ironically, but yes.
Well, it's been a wonderful time and wonderful friends, wonderful friendships, and travelled all over England, Scotland and Ireland, all over Europe, and as far afield as New Zealand, Chile, Brazil, all over the world, literally. So I think we could lay claim to being world famous.
I think that sounds world. I mean, that is actually around the world and back pretty much, I think, isn't it? Just about.
We don't bother with America much.
Well, who does? Who does?
Well, indeed. Who indeed.
So when it came to writing the book, I mean, where do you start? Had you sort of kept a scrapbook, as it were, of all your travels and of all the various events?
Well, photographs were plentiful because we were very photogenic. As you can see in the new book, there's lots of photographs, but it's a difficult subject, actually, and although people knew my face, they knew me, a lot of people really didn't know who the helmets were. They didn't know the individuals, so I decided to do a profile on each and every one of them, and basically to start at the beginning, because that seemed a good place to start. So it eventually evolved from that, with bits added, and I tried to get some of the lads to contribute, but the numbers were low, albeit 2 or 3 good accounts from some of the old guys, and we've had 1 or 2 new boys along the way, but it's not quite the same with new people. It's our humour was the old humour, the old-fashioned stuff, and as you say, the old jokes, well, they are the oldest, aren't they?
Do you think it could have carried on now? Or do you think, as you say, it's as times change, you think, you have your moment in the sun and then you move on?
Every dog has his day, Howard. I think to let the show go down wouldn't have suited us at all. We were on a high, and we decided at the time, we'd lost 1 or 2 of the boys through illness and one thing and another. And we are all 27 years older than when it started, so although some of the younger guys are perfectly capable to carry on, we decided as a team to stop while we're ahead, quit while we're ahead, and bow out gracefully. And this is the consensus of opinion, and everybody was in agreement, although 1 or 2 were disappointed, it has to be said. This is how it went.
I mean, there was so much associated and part and parcel of the TT for so long. Do you think that's changed over the years? Again, sadly, we can't turn back to the clocks, and nothing ever stays the same, does it? But there was that link, really, wasn't it? You just thought, oh yeah, TT, and along with sort of bikes, and along with Mad Sunday, and along with a screening of George Formby somewhere, there'd be the purple helmets.
Yes, indeed. The helmets really have been synonymous with the TT because entertainment, showbiz is our thing, and I remember wobbling along the prom in the early days, and we would turn up at Bushy's on the promenade, which was a wonderful atmosphere, probably the best atmosphere you'd find anywhere. And the police joined in with us, and it was fantastic. The crowd were absolutely with us. And celebrities wanted to appear with us. There's pictures of quite a few celebrities in the book, like the hairy bikers wanted to be on the piano and have beer chucked over them, and Bruce Anstey was always a great guy up on the pyramid with us. We've had everyone, really. We've had Agostini at the top of the pyramid.
Agostini?
Yeah, Agostini stood on the top of the pyramid with us, and we've had wonderful times where the coat really was a password. It was a key to open any door. We could walk in anywhere and have drinks bought for us. Not that we spilled much, but we tried to show our appreciation in the normal manner.
How did the coats come about originally? Yeah?
Well, now that you've got the book there, it will be finally explained how the coats came about. And it started with some of the boys, long before they were called the Purple Helmets, actually. They were a gang of boys who used to come to the TT, and one of them had a coat that his father used on the Fergie tractor out ploughing, and he thought he'd put this on. And a couple of other boys thought it was so good. Well, so I suppose a modern word is hip. They thought it was so hip that they would find some, and they did in the Army and Navy stores. At the time, they weren't actually riding Honda C90s, but vintage bikes, really. One, Andrew Jiggle from Orkney now, he had a Sunbeam, and a flat tank Sunbeam, and he rode round with the pudding basin helmets, and eventually it started to catch on in our enduro scene, and our enduro boys, who are called the Sheepskulls, this is when they're not in show business, they become the Sheepskulls, dual identity. They started to wear them at the enduros throughout England, and at the 6-day enduro in the World Championships, and it sort of caught on. And then at the time, this would be 1995 when we started, I was the chairman of the Southern Motorcycle Club at the time, and we were very low on funds, and this is how it all started. Steve Colley, great friend of ours, he decided he would try and help us out with one of his stunt shows, and he needed a bit of backup, so these likely lads with their big coats, the Sheepskull Enduro riders, I'd seen them knocking about with their little Hondas, and sort of suggested that they may do a backup, and they said, well, what would we call ourselves? Well, one of them said, be a bit like the White Helmets, like the famous army team, the Royal Signals. And somebody else said it would be more like the Purple Helmets. And the name stuck. And it always has, really. It's quite apt, as you probably agree. But the Purple Helmets, and then someone else said the world famous. And that stuck as well, because nobody had ever heard of us. And I think it comes over that we're really fun-loving guys, and the police kind of adopted us after a while. They knew we weren't hooligans. We're just fun-loving guys who tried to lighten the mood, and that's what we'd like to be remembered as, really. We've done donations for charity and things, and in fact, any proceeds from this book, over and above the costs, are to be split equally between the hospice, Isle of Man Hospice, and the Queen's Pier in Ramsey, like a last gesture of charity work. As Smashy and Nicey would say, there's a lot of work for charity, mate.
Absolutely right. And so it is a wonderful book. We've got a copy in front of us here. Like I said, at speeds approaching 100 miles an hour. It's in hardback, it's in full colour, it's like a proper A4 annual size, and with a lovely hardcover, and we were just saying an amazing wraparound picture which actually starts on the front cover. If you turn the book over in your hands, it goes round the spine and right round to the back cover, with all the boys in there on the Hondas, I think, on the bikes, wearing the coats, wearing their world famous helmets, of course, right the way around. A really classic picture, that one. Who took that one? Is that the one on the front cover?
Well, one of the lads, Andy Walton, one of the main men in the helmets, the Great Waldo, we call him. His wife, his lovely wife, took that picture.
That's a brilliant one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I suppose, again, you were saying it was all about fun, a group of guys having a good time, entertaining others as well, often raising thousands for really, really good causes. And as you say, a little parting gesture with the book as well, with the raising money for good causes and that one as well. But it was a mix of sort of complete bonkersness and sort of silliness, but with actually a bit of that daredevil attitude as well all the time.
Hell hath no fury. Oh yes, very much so. It's well, it's clever really, because I always likened it in the commentary to Les Dawson playing the piano badly, because you had to be very good to make it bad.
Yeah, yep.
Because bad's bad, but this is well, it's good.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good bad.
You have to know exactly what you're doing in order to
Yeah.
make it bad and make sure it's
Yeah.
safe as well, of course, I suppose.
Well, safety. We've had lots of broken bones over the years, and I think the kids thought we were indestructible, because when somebody hit the ground, they just laugh. And often it was a broken leg or a collarbone or something like that. But the show must go on. Well, it did do. It did do.
For an awfully long time. And I didn't realise, just flipping through it, Steve Hislop was an early...
Hizzy was one of the original guys. Well, the second wave of us really, and he was a great character. I've still got his coat actually, and it says Hizzy inside it. And I always know which coat this is, because he had a battery in his pocket, and the acid through the bottom of his coat, through the pocket of his coat, and he lost the battery. So he was some boy, was Hizzy, and he wasn't too sure about Manx beer. So one of the T-shirts is actually named after him, and it says on the back of it, "Ale, it's no as bad as you think," because he was offered a pint of beer, and he said, "Oh, I didn't drink much, you see." So they said, "Try it, Hizzy." So he had his mouth full. He says, "Aye, it's no as bad as you think," and that's actually on one of our shirts, which I've envisaged in years to come will be quite collectible.
It'll be a collector's item.
Yeah.
And the coats themselves, because they all look identical, did everyone have their own coat then? Or was
You had to have your own coat
Yeah,
because
yeah.
of the smell. In fact,
No answer to that.
there was a good story about the coats one night up at Government House when Ian McFadden was the governor, great friend of ours. He brought Prince William as a young man. I think Prince William was about 20 or 21 maybe, and we did a show for him. Well, I think the picture is in the book actually, with William wearing one of our coats. Well, it came about that our guys had been out on the tracks all day through the mud and muck and whatever, and Robbo, one of our great guys who lives in Carnforth actually, he was there with his coat on, a very old coat and a smelly one. In fact, he's known as the polecat for obvious reasons. And I said to Prince William, "I bet you'd like to try on one of these coats, Your Highness." And he said, "Oh, rather." So Robbo, one of the first, most generous of the helmets, whipped his coat off, and he swapped coats with the Prince for his blue Savile Row jacket. And not only did the Prince put his coat on, but he put the Prince's coat on. And he rooted through the pockets, and he was heard to say, "There's not much in your pockets, Your Highness." And to which William's security men looked quite anxious at the time. But to no avail. Ian McFadden told me later that when he sat down to lunch, to his evening dinner, he had to sniff his armpits, and with his blue Savile Row jacket. And I don't know whether it ever got burnt afterwards, because he was quite conscious of the polecat effect on his jacket.
Oh dear, you can't make that stuff up, can you?
You cannot. It
tell
could
you.
only happen here.
And actually, the foreword, who looked at the front of the book there, the foreword is written by the current Lieutenant Governor, also a great fan, Sir John Lorimer.
Indeed, yes. We've made inroads into Government House on many occasions, and in fact, I've probably lost count how many times we performed up there, and it was always top secret. We were never allowed to know who we were going to perform for because of security reasons, and it all had to go through the police and one thing and another, especially when William came. They had security guards everywhere, and it was quite some night actually, and we've had wonderful times with it. And So to initiate the new governor, John Lorimer, we offered him a night's entertainment, and to which he jumped enthusiastically. And I think it was last TT week actually, and we've become great friends ever since.
And he said, you can tell you're a friend here because he says, a quick word about the author. There is only one Derry Kissack, and for that we should be truly grateful.
I didn't quite know how to take that. It was kind of a negative compliment, wasn't it? Yes.
Oh, wonderful stuff. So, do you miss it already?
Oh, yes. Well, we still meet up as friends, obviously, but we will miss it, and I'm sure the TT fans will find a big hole in the entertainment of the TT when the helmets aren't actually there, because you never know, they may feel a pyramid coming on somewhere in the car park in a pub locally. I don't know. I can't speak for the individuals, but they may just feel a show coming on. I can't promise you that.
You never know. Well, it's a wonderful looking book. Great credit to you. It's coming out.
I have to say, Howard, I am proud of it, to be honest.
It is terrific. I think you should be as well. It is a credit to you. At speeds approaching 100 miles an hour, the story of the world-famous purple helmets, and if they weren't going to live on forever in the history of the Isle of Man, they certainly will do now with this book to remind everyone of the glory days of the purple helmets. Terrific. And thanks very much, Derry, for popping up and having a chat to us today. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you very much for that, Howard. 27 years of mayhem. And it may continue if you're in the right pub car park. I can't promise it, but thank you very much, Howard.